My name is Adrian Cole, and I was never meant to see the center of the earth. None of us were. Yet there I was, standing inside a steel capsule buried deep beneath the Icelandic crust, listening to the slow, terrifying groan of metal as we descended into the unknown. Our team was small but brilliant. Dr. Helena Voss, a geophysicist with eyes that always looked beyond the visible. Marcus Reed, our engineer, who trusted machines more than people. And Lila Moreno, a linguist who believed language could exist anywhere, even where no human had ever walked. The project was called CoreLight. Officially, it was a deep Earth energy experiment. Unofficially, it was a gamble against everything science thought it knew. The capsule shook violently as we passed 30 kilometers. Heat should have crushed us. Pressure should have folded the metal like paper. But the strange crystal lining, discovered in a meteorite years ago, absorbed both. No one fully understood how it worked. We just trusted it with our lives. At 60 kilometers, the tremors stopped. "Adrian," Helena whispered, staring at her instruments. "This shouldn't be possible." Outside the reinforced window, the darkness wasn't darkness anymore. It glowed faintly like dusk trapped in stone. Layers of rock had turned translucent, pulsing with veins of light. Then the rock simply opened. Not cracked, not broken. Opened. We drifted into a massive, hollow space, an underground sky stretching wider than any cavern on record. Floating above us was a glowing sphere, like a miniature sun, suspended in the center of this hidden world. Forest grew upside down along curved stone walls. Rivers floated in slow arcs, defying gravity. And in the distance I saw structures, towers, bridges, cities, built into the very shell of the earth. Marcus whispered, "We didn't reach the center of the earth." Helena finished his sentence. "We reached a world inside it." My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. Every book, every theory, every rule of physics was collapsing in front of my eyes. And then Lila pointed. "Adrian, we're not alone." On a floating platform near the glowing sphere, figures were standing, tall, slender, glowing faintly like the world around them. They were watching us arrive. We landed on a stone platform that felt warm, almost alive beneath our boots. The air was light, sweet, and impossibly clean. When I removed my helmet, I didn't choke. I didn't burn. I breathed. The figures approached slowly. They were humanoid but not human. Skin like polished marble, eyes glowing soft gold, hair flowing like strands of light. Their clothes seemed grown, not sewn. One of them stepped forward. He placed his hand on his chest. "I am Aurelian," he said, in perfect English. Lila gasped. "That's impossible." Aurelian smiled gently. "Nothing is impossible where you stand now." He explained that they were called the Illyrians, an ancient civilization that had lived inside the earth for longer than human history remembered. Their world was powered by the core sun, the glowing sphere we had seen, an energy source older than volcanoes and stronger than stars. Helena asked the question we all feared. "Why has no one ever found you?" Aurelian's eyes darkened. "Because your world is not ready." They showed us their city, carved into curved stone like a shell. Buildings grew like crystals. Children floated as they played. No smoke, no war, no hunger. Marcus whispered to me, "If the surface finds this, they'll destroy it." That night, if it could be called a night under a glowing inner sky, I lay awake, realizing something terrifying. We hadn't discovered them. They had allowed us to arrive. The Illyrians led us through halls that curved like the inside of a giant shell. The walls were alive with light, not from lamps, but from the stone itself. Aurelian guided us into a vast chamber where a projection of Earth slowly rotated in the air. 2 Earths, really. One solid, one transparent, showing a glowing world inside. "This is your planet," Aurelian said, touching the outer shell, "and this is ours." His hand passed through the image and into the inner glow. They told us a story older than any human myth. Long before humans wrote history, there were advanced civilizations on the surface. They rose, fought, burned the sky with fire from the ground. When the planet began to collapse, a group of scientists and philosophers chose not to fight, but to preserve life. They went down, deep into the earth, using technology that bent gravity and energy. "We became the Illyrians," Aurelian said, "not a race, but a choice." They built the core sun from the planet's own energy. It did not steal power, it balanced it. Earthquakes, volcanoes, even shifting continents were no longer random. They were guided, softened, controlled, so the planet would not die from the violence of its own surface. Helena looked pale. "So every disaster, every act of nature, is an act of protection," Aurelian finished. I felt small, all our pride, all our science, and we had never known that someone else was quietly holding our world together. Lila whispered, "Why hide for so long?" Aurelian's voice grew heavy. "Because knowledge without wisdom is a weapon, and your world has always loved weapons." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking of all the wars in human history, all the cities burned, all the lives lost, while beneath us, a civilization had chosen peace and patience. I realized then, the greatest secret of Earth was not hidden in space, it was hidden in our own shadow. The Illyrian Council gathered in a circle of floating stone, each member glowing with a different shade of light. Their voices blended like music when they spoke together, then separated into clear words. "You have seen our world," said Ceres, one of their leaders. "Now you must decide what you will do with this truth." Marcus stepped forward. "If this gets out, humans will come with drills, bombs, and flags. They'll call this discovery progress." Helena shook her head. "But if we hide it, we become liars. And when they find it anyway, they'll hate you. And us." They turned to me. I'd never felt so unworthy of being listened to. I spoke slowly. "We don't tell everyone. We tell the right ones. Scientists who protect life, people who build, not rule. Let the idea grow before the hunger for power finds it." The council debated for hours. Light flared and dimmed as emotions rose and fell. Finally, Aurelian raised his hand. "You may return," he said, "but balance demands a bridge. One of you must remain, to learn from us, and to remind us of you." Silence crushed the air. I wanted to volunteer. So did Helena. But before any of us could speak, Lila stepped forward. "I've spent my life studying voices," she said. "Let me become one." I saw fear in her eyes, but I also saw meaning. We said goodbye under the glowing sky of the inner world. I hugged her longer than I should have. "Tell our world the truth," she whispered, "even if they hate it." The ascent felt like leaving a dream. Light faded. Warm air turned cold. The stone walls became dead again. When we emerged, the sky was gray, the wind loud, the world suddenly heavy. Nothing looked different, but everything was. We began carefully. Private meetings, small groups, scientists who cared more about the planet than profit. We showed them recordings, samples of Illyrian stone, data that broke physics. Some cried, some laughed, some walked out shaking. News began to leak in whispers. Governments asked for coordinates. We refused. Helena told me one night, "Secrets rot. They always do." I knew she was right. Humanity had never been good at waiting. I dreamed of Lila standing under the core sun, learning words no human had ever spoken. And I feared what would happen when humans tried to shout over her. It wasn't science that broke the secret. It was greed. A mining corporation drilled too deep in Asia, chasing rare minerals. Their machines cut into a glowing tunnel that was never meant to be touched. Workers recorded it. Floating light, warm air, structures in the stone. The videos went viral before anyone could stop them. The world exploded. Some called it heaven. Some called it hell. Some called it the greatest prize in history. Nations argued over ownership of something no human owned. Religious leaders fought over its meaning. Armies prepared to protect it. Then earthquakes began. Violent ones. Volcanoes woke. Aurelian contacted me through Lila's device. "Your world is hurting itself," he said, "and it is hurting us." The Illyrians closed their passages. No human could reach them anymore, but the planet was already shaking. "We will not fight you," Aurelian said, "but we will no longer hide." The Illyrians revealed themselves, not with weapons, but with miracles. Earthquakes calmed, storms weakened, polluted rivers cleared. Humanity watched in silence as the impossible became real. Then Aurelian spoke to the world. "We have protected you for ages. Now you must protect yourselves. If you continue to destroy this planet, we will stop saving it." For the first time, humanity faced a truth it couldn't bomb, conquer, or deny. Lila sent me one final message. "Adrian, I have learned their language. It has no word for conquer, only for care. Teach your world that word." I stood under the open sky, knowing that beneath my feet another sky was glowing. 2 worlds, 1 planet, and, finally, a choice. After the Illyrians revealed themselves, the world entered a strange, trembling silence. News channels no longer shouted. Politicians spoke slowly, carefully, like children afraid to break something fragile. For the first time, humanity was being watched not by gods, not by myths, but by neighbors who had always been there. Cities organized global gatherings where people simply talked about fear, about guilt, about hope. Children drew pictures of 2 suns, one in the sky, one inside the earth. Old people cried, saying they always felt the planet was alive, and now they finally knew why. I was invited to speak everywhere, but I went only to a few places. I was tired of being called the man who found the heart of the earth. I didn't find it. It found me. At night, Aurelian spoke to me through the device Lila had built. His voice was calm, but I could hear sadness beneath it. "Your world is loud," he said once. "Ours is quiet. We must learn to meet in the middle." "Can you forgive us?" I asked. "We already have," he replied. "The question is whether you can forgive yourselves." Years passed. Wars did not vanish, but they became smaller, harder to justify. Polluting companies were shut down by people, not governments. Forests were replanted not because of laws, but because children demanded it. One day, Lila returned. She emerged from a glowing gate in the desert, thinner, brighter, her eyes filled with a light that did not belong to the sun. I ran to her and held her like I might lose her again. "They're ready for small steps," she said. "Not friendship, not unity, but listening." The first meeting between humans and Illyrians happened in a neutral cavern deep under the sea. No flags, no weapons, only voices. I watched humans struggle to speak without commanding, without claiming. I watched Illyrians struggle to understand anger, greed, fear, emotions they had almost forgotten. It was not beautiful, but it was real. And for the first time, Earth was not a battlefield between nations. It was a home learning how not to hurt itself. I often walked alone after that, listening to the ground beneath my feet. Every vibration felt like a breath. Every quiet moment felt like a heartbeat. I began to understand what the Illyrians meant when they said the planet was not a place, but a being. People started to change their language. They stopped saying, "We own the land." They said, "We belong to it." It sounded small, but words shape thought, and thought shapes worlds. Some resisted. They said humanity should rule, not share. They drilled again, tested again, pushed again. Each time, the Illyrians answered not with violence, but with silence, closing energy lines, weakening machines, letting human arrogance collapse under its own weight. I realized then, the Illyrians were not stronger than us because of technology. They were stronger because they had learned patience. Lila told me once, their history has no heroes, only guardians. I asked her what that meant. It means they don't celebrate those who take, she said, only those who protect. I wondered what our statues would look like if we followed that rule. Years later, a child asked me, "Are the Illyrians gods?" I knelt and said, "No. They are what happens when a civilization chooses not to destroy itself." The child thought for a long time and said, "Then maybe one day we will be like them." That was the first time I truly believed it might be possible. On the 10th anniversary of first contact, humans and Illyrians planted a forest together in a valley that had once been burned by war. No speeches, no cameras, just hands in the soil. I stood beside Aurelian. He looked at the young trees and said, "Civilizations are like these. They do not grow fast, but they grow deep." I asked him what would happen if humanity failed again. He looked at me gently. "Then Earth will survive without you, but we hope it will not have to." That night I wrote in my journal, "The future is no longer a fight for power. It is a test of care, and for the first time in history, that test is being watched by the heart of the world itself." I am old now. My hands shake when I write, but the ground beneath me feels steady. Children no longer fear the word tomorrow. They draw two suns without confusion. They grow up knowing the planet has a voice. When I close my eyes, I no longer dream of falling into darkness. I dream of light beneath light. And I know, at last, that reaching the center of the earth was never about discovery. It was about remembering that we were never alone.